Discovery and awakening. The research vessel Astral Seeker drifted silently through the stellar debris field at the edge of charted space. Its hull, a blend of biological and mechanical components, reflected the dim light of a distant pulsar, casting rippling patterns across its surface. Inside the primary observation deck, Captain Zivnerev adjusted her breathing apparatus, the translucent membranes of her gill slits fluttering as she studied the ancient space station growing larger on the main view screen. "Preliminary scans complete, Captain," announced Science Officer Trell, his 8 limbs working simultaneously across different holographic interfaces. His exoskeleton clicked softly as he shifted position. The structure appears to be approximately 15,000 stellar cycles old. No active power signatures detected, but the alloys are unlike anything in our database, remarkably intact despite its age. Zivnera's compound eyes reflected the image of the massive station, a ring-shaped structure with spires extending inward like the spokes of a wheel. "Any matches in the historical archives?" "None, Captain," replied Historian Velks, her tentacles delicately manipulating the ship's knowledge core. This region was unexplored during the third expansion. The station's architecture doesn't match any known civilization in the Galactic Assembly records. The bridge fell silent as the implications settled in. The Galactic Assembly had catalogued over 12,000 spacefaring species across 5 million stellar cycles of history. To find technology that predated their records was unprecedented. "Prepare an exploration team," Zivnera decided, her voice resonating with authority. "Full containment protocols. We don't know what we're dealing with." 6 hours later, Zivnera led a team of 7 specialists through the airless corridors of the ancient station. Their environmental suits, designed to accommodate the wildly different biologies of the crew members, glowed softly in the darkness. The station's internal structure was a marvel of engineering. Corridors curved in mathematically perfect arcs. Junction points formed elegant geometric patterns, and what appeared to be information terminals lined the walls at regular intervals. "These proportions," muttered Sen Architect Rilshan, her crystalline body refracting the light from their suits. "They're built for bipedal organisms approximately 1.8 meters in height, smaller than Centaurians, larger than Proxians. I'm detecting residual organic particles embedded in some of these surfaces." Zivnera approached what appeared to be a main terminal, its surface etched with strange angular symbols. "Can you decipher this writing, Linguist Omor?" The avian specialist tilted his crested head, eyes rapidly blinking as he processed the information. "It's not in our archives, but there are structural patterns I can analyze. It appears to be remarkably efficient in information density. Give me time." As the team progressed deeper into the station, the evidence of the vanished civilization became more intriguing. They discovered remnants of advanced propulsion systems, energy manipulation technology far beyond assembly capabilities, and most puzzlingly, artworks depicting the station's former inhabitants, bipedal beings with soft exteriors, minimal sensory appendages, and peculiar facial features. How could such physically limited creatures create all this? Wondered Trell, scanning a holographic mural showing the beings traveling among the stars. "Perhaps their strength wasn't physical," responded biologist Mira, her gelatinous form shifting thoughtfully. "Look at these neural cavity dimensions in these preserved specimens. Their brain-to-body ratio is extraordinary." Their exploration led them to a vast spherical chamber at the station's core. The door, an immense circular affair of unknown metal, bore more of the angular script. Omor's voice trembled slightly as he translated. "It reads, Central Command, authorized personnel only." After careful analysis of the locking mechanism, engineering specialist Drav managed to bypass the ancient security systems. The massive door slid open with surprising smoothness, revealing a chamber bathed in soft blue light. "Impossible," whispered Trell. "There's active power after all this time." The team entered cautiously. The chamber extended for hundreds of meters in all directions, filled with preserved artifacts, control stations, and what appeared to be suspended animation pods, all meticulously maintained by automated systems. But at the center stood something that drew their collective attention, a holographic terminal pulsing with gentle light. As they approached, the terminal sensed their presence. The blue light coalesced into a three-dimensional image of one of the bipedal creatures, wearing what appeared to be formal attire. "Welcome," it said in a language none of them understood, yet all could comprehend through some unknown mechanism. "I am Atlas, Advanced Technological Legacy Archival System. You have accessed Earth Command Station Epsilon. How may I assist you?" Zivanera stepped forward, her scientific training barely containing her amazement. "What is this place? Who were the beings that built it?" The hologram's expression changed subtly, displaying what they would later learn was surprise. "You do not know of humans. Fascinating. According to my chronometer, it has been 15,372 standard years since my last activation. Query: what species do you represent? What is the current status of galactic civilization?" The team exchanged glances. Zivanera responded carefully. "We are representatives of the Galactic Assembly, a union of 12,473 spacefaring species. I am Zivanera of the Aquilian Collective. We have no records of humans in our archives." Atlas's holographic form seemed to process this information, its face displaying another emotion they couldn't identify. "I see. This outcome was predicted as a possibility, though not the most probable one." The hologram gestured, and the room darkened as stars appeared around them, a holographic map of the galaxy. Humans originated on a planet called Earth in the Sol system. By the time of my creation, they had expanded to 12,241 star systems across 4 spiral arms. The team stared in disbelief as thousands of points of light illuminated across the galactic map. "That's impossible," protested Trell. "Our records go back 5 million stellar cycles. A civilization of that scale couldn't simply disappear from history." And yet, Atlas replied with what they would later recognize as sadness. They did. The hologram waved a hand, and images began to appear around them. Scenes of human achievement and history, cities that dwarfed anything in the assembly. Vessels traveling through folded space, worlds transformed from barren rock to lush habitats. Beings of different species working alongside humans. 15,000 years ago, humanity stood at its apex. Atlas continued. They had overcome disease, scarcity, and even biological death. They had made contact with 827 non-human intelligent species and helped many achieve spacefaring status. They had mapped 92% of the galaxy and established outposts in neighboring galaxies. "Then why are they gone?" asked Zivanera. "What could cause such a powerful civilization to vanish so completely?" Atlas's hologram dimmed slightly. "That information is secured at the highest level. I cannot release it without proper authentication." "But surely after so many millennia," began linguist Omor. "The protocols are absolute," interrupted Atlas. However, the AI paused, as if weighing a decision. "There is a signal I am authorized to transmit if discovered by a non-human civilization deemed sufficiently advanced. Would you like me to activate this protocol?" Zivanera consulted silently with her team through their neural interfaces. Every scientific and ethical guideline cautioned against interfering with unknown technologies, particularly those of mysterious extinct civilizations. But the potential knowledge to be gained. "We accept," she declared. Atlas nodded. Initiating Protocol Lighthouse. The hologram raised its hand, and a pulse of energy surged through the chamber and up through the station. In orbit, the Astral Seeker's sensors detected a massive energy surge, followed by a directional transmission that streaked away toward the galactic core at speeds that shouldn't have been possible. On the station, the team watched as new holographic displays activated around them, showing distant locations across the galaxy. To their shock, dormant structures on numerous worlds, many inhabited by assembly species, began powering up, their designs unmistakably similar to the station they now stood in. "What have you done?" demanded Zivnera, suddenly alarmed. "I have awakened the network," Atlas explained. "Human outposts and repositories across the galaxy are now online and transmitting data to the central hub." Central hub? What central hub? Atlas's holographic face formed what they would later learn was called a smile. The one at the galactic core, of course, where humanity's greatest achievement awaits. Around them, the holographic screens showed alien scientists and government officials reacting with shock to the sudden activation of ancient structures on their worlds. Messages were being transmitted between assembly worlds as the mysterious signal propagated. "I don't understand," said Zivnera. "If humans were so advanced, why would they disappear? Why leave all this dormant technology scattered across the galaxy?" "To wait," replied Atlas simply. "Wait for what?" The AI looked directly at Zivnera, its eyes seemingly perceiving more than should be possible for a program. "For the right moment. For worthy inheritors." A new display appeared, showing a massive structure hidden within the accretion disk of the supermassive black hole of the galaxy's center, a construct of impossible scale and complexity. "This is the Nexus," Atlas explained. "Humanity's final project and greatest legacy. The reason they chose to fade from galactic memory." "What does it do?" whispered Trell, his scientific mind struggling to comprehend the energies involved in such a structure. "That," said Atlas, "is what you must journey to discover." The hologram gestured once more, and a data crystal materialized in a small compartment at the base of the terminal. "This contains coordinates and access codes for the 7 Guardian repositories. Together, they hold the knowledge you will need to understand humanity's choice and the decision that now faces your assembly." Zivnera hesitantly took the crystal. "What decision?" As the team prepared to return to their ship, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Atlas's form flickered urgently. "Warning. Multiple vessels approaching at high velocity. Weapon signatures detected. Defensive systems activating." The holographic screen shifted to show a fleet of warships bearing the insignia of the hegemony, the assembly's primary rival power. Somehow, news of their discovery had already spread. "Return to your vessel immediately," Atlas commanded. "The knowledge of humanity must not fall into the wrong hands. Protocol Lighthouse has awakened the network, but only those who approach with wisdom will receive humanity's gifts." As the team raced back through the corridors, the station's ancient defense systems hummed to life around them, blue energy coursing through pathways that had lain dormant for millennia. The race for humanity's legacy had begun. Legacy and choice. The astral seeker shuddered as another energy blast from the pursuing hegemony vessels glanced off its shields. On the bridge, Captain Zivnera gripped her command console, compound eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Shields at 38%, reported First Officer Krell. "We cannot withstand another direct hit." "We don't need to," Zivnera replied, her voice steady despite the danger. "Look." The view screen showed the hegemony warships suddenly slowing as they approached the ancient human station. Beams of coherent blue energy lanced out from previously hidden emplacements, not striking the vessels but enveloping them in a field of pulsing light. "Their propulsion and weapons systems are offline," Trell announced, reading from his scanner. "The station is communicating with them, not attacking them." Asked Krell in surprise. "No," Zivnera said thoughtfully. "Atlas said only those who approach with wisdom would receive humanity's gifts. The station isn't destroying the hegemony ships, it's testing them." As they watched, the blue field dissipated, and the hegemony vessels began retreating, their engines operating at minimal capacity. "Set course for assembly space," Zivnera ordered. "Maximum speed. We need to reach Central Council before the situation escalates further." 3 days later, the massive council chamber of the Galactic Assembly erupted in chaos. Representatives of 5,000 species shouted over one another, their translators struggling to keep pace with the barrage of languages. Above them, Hovering displays showed the same phenomenon, occurring on world after world. Ancient structures, previously thought to be natural formations or the remains of long-forgotten civilizations, awakening with pulses of blue energy. Ziv stood at the center of the storm, her team arrayed behind her. High Chancellor Vorn, an ancient crystalline entity whose consciousness spanned multiple bodies, called for order. Silence. The Chancellor's voice resonated through the neural amplifiers, sending a wave of enforced calm through the assembly. Captain Ziv will continue her report without interruption. Ziv inclined her head in gratitude. As I was explaining, the artificial intelligence designating itself as Atlas confirmed that these activated structures are part of a network created by an ancient species called humans. Our preliminary investigation suggests they were a carbon-based bipedal species that achieved technological supremacy approximately 15,000 years ago. And yet they appear nowhere in our historical records, noted Grand Archivist Memna, her serpentine body coiled in skepticism. Even our oldest archives make no mention of them. That appears to be deliberate on their part, replied Ziv. According to Atlas, the humans chose to remove themselves from galactic memory. Science Officer Trell stepped forward. We've confirmed that the technology in these activated structures far exceeds current assembly capabilities. Initial readings suggest quantum computational capacities thousands of times more efficient than our most advanced systems. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. And this, Atlas provided you with coordinates to 7 repositories that contain more information? Asked the Chancellor. Yes, confirmed Ziv. We believe these repositories contain the knowledge necessary to understand why the humans disappeared and what they were building at the galactic core, a structure the AI called the Nexus. High Chancellor Vorn's crystalline form shimmered as it processed this information. The Council will need to deliberate on how to proceed. The simultaneous activation of unknown technology across hundreds of assembly worlds represents a potentially significant security concern. Chancellor, if I may, interjected Ambassador Hulot, her luminous skin pulsing with urgency. We're already receiving reports of independent expeditions being launched to explore the activated human structures. Several corporate entities and at least 12 sovereign systems have declared their intent to claim any recoverable technology. The knowledge should be shared for the benefit of all species, argued Representative Kloss of the Hivemind Collectives, the synchronized voices of 1,000 linked organisms speaking as one. Your principles mean nothing in the face of such power, interrupted Warlord Draz of the Crixen Dominion. Whoever controls this human technology will control the galaxy. The Dominion claims the right of priority exploration. The chamber descended into chaos once more, but Ziv attention was drawn to the data crystal in her possession, which had begun to pulse with blue light. Before she could react, a holographic projection materialized above it, forming into the figure of Atlas. Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Assembly, the hologram said, its voice perfectly translated to all present. I apologize for this interruption, but my protocols require me to intervene when certain parameters are met. Chancellor Vorn moved forward. Identify yourself and your purpose. I am Atlas, Advanced Technological Legacy Archival System, final custodian of Human Legacy Protocol. My purpose is to ensure the safe and ethical distribution of human knowledge. The hologram's eyes, a feature none of the aliens fully understood the purpose of, scanned the assembly. I have detected multiple aggressive expeditions being launched toward human repository sites. This violates the ethical framework required for access. You have no authority here, growled Warlord Draz. Your creators are dust. Their technology belongs to whoever claims it. Atlas' expression shifted to what Ziv now recognized as disappointment. That attitude is precisely why humanity established the trials. Knowledge without wisdom leads to destruction. The hologram raised its hand, and the massive displays above the council showed human structures across the galaxy emitting pulses of energy. Seconds later, reports flooded in of starships, those racing to claim human technology. Finding their engines disabled, their weapon systems offline. "What have you done?" demanded Chancellor Vorn. "Implemented a containment protocol." Atlas replied calmly. "All vessels approaching human sites with hostile intent have been temporarily neutralized. No living beings have been harmed." The display shifted to show the 7 repository locations that Zivnera's team had been given coordinates for, each pulsing with increasing energy. The repositories are now fully activated and will accept visitors, but they will only share their knowledge with those who approach with understanding and respect. Humanity learned through bitter experience that technology without ethical framework leads to suffering. Atlas continued, addressing the wider council. Humans seeded technologies across the galaxy, guiding the development of promising species. They chose to fade from memory so that you could believe yourselves self-made, could take pride in your own accomplishments without living in the shadow of those who came before. The archivist uncoiled in excitement. Then the Great Convergence, the simultaneous technological advancement across multiple civilizations 8,000 years ago, was the result of dormant human knowledge activating according to evolutionary timetables. "Yes," confirmed Atlas. "Humanity wished to be a gardener, not a master." The hologram's form shifted, and suddenly the council chamber was filled with images. Memories, Zivnera realized, of humanity's final days. They witnessed a grand conclave of human leaders debating their civilization's future. They had reached a technological plateau, having mastered energy, matter, and even the fundamental forces of the universe. But with that mastery came a terrible realization. They had begun to stagnate. Younger species viewed them with a mixture of awe and fear, unable to develop their own unique paths while standing in humanity's shadow. And beyond that, humans had discovered something at the edge of the universe, something that both terrified and fascinated them. The nature of reality itself, the holographic projection explained, was not what it appeared. The universe was approaching a critical junction point, one that would require a united galactic response when the time came. Humanity made a choice. Atlas explained as the memories faded. Rather than dominate or control, they would withdraw. They would scatter their knowledge across the stars, encoded in ways that would ensure only those ready for it would discover it. They would become legends, myths, allowing 1,000 civilizations to bloom in their absence. "And this nexus at the galactic core?" asked Zivnera. "Their greatest achievement and final legacy," replied Atlas. "A mechanism to unite the consciousness of all sentient beings when the time comes to face what waits beyond the cosmic horizon. But such unity cannot be forced. It must be chosen freely by species that have evolved their own distinct wisdom." The council chamber was silent now, the representatives of thousands of diverse species contemplating the sacrifice of a civilization that had chosen to disappear rather than dominate. The 7 repositories contained tests, Atlas continued, not of technological prowess, but of wisdom, cooperation, empathy, and foresight. Qualities humanity found essential for any species that would inherit their legacy. "Tests," repeated Chancellor Vorn. "Challenges designed to determine if the assembly is ready for what humanity discovered. Each repository focuses on a different aspect of sentient development: ethics, cooperation, sustainability, biological harmony, consciousness expansion, technological responsibility, and cosmic awareness." The hologram's expression grew solemn. "Only those who complete all 7 trials will gain access to the Nexus and the choice that awaits there." "What choice?" asked Zivnera. Atlas looked directly at her, its artificial eyes seeming to peer into her very essence. Whether to awaken humanity from their self-imposed exile, or to inherit their mantle as guardians of the galaxy's future. The data crystal in Zivnera's possession glowed brighter, projecting a map showing the locations of the 7 repositories spread across the galaxy. "The trials begin now," Atlas announced. "You have 1 standard galactic cycle to complete them. How you approach this challenge, whether through cooperation or competition, through wisdom or force, will determine not only your worthiness, but also the future of all sentient life in this galaxy." As the hologram faded, the council erupted once more, not in chaos this time, but in determined discussion. Zivnera looked at her crew, seeing in their alien features the same resolve that filled her. Somewhere in the vast expanse of the galaxy, scattered across worlds unknown, the last remnants of humanity waited in suspended animation. Whether they would awaken to greet their successors or pass their torch to new guardians remained to be seen. The legacy of humanity, the forgotten masters of the galaxy, lay before them. And with it, the greatest challenge any civilization had ever faced. The choice was theirs.